Hey everybody, if you were following along with me on my phone just a little bit ago, I am so sorry. My computer is really ready to, I think, completely die on me, and it wouldn't restart. So I went on my phone to start the live, and I showed as much as I could there. So I'm just gonna start over-ish. I don't know if anybody's still here watching me, but I apologize that you can see from all of my comments that I couldn't get my computer to start. But anyway, we're going to start now, and you guys can watch this later. Hey, Kathy. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me here. And I apologize for my technical difficulty. I'm going to have to figure out my computer situation sooner than later. All right, so what I want to do today is show you the... Hey, Patricia, welcome. I want to show you my... Well, first what we're going to do is we're going to look at the pattern first. Hey, Mary, I'm back. Oh, I know. Well, once I'm started, it hasn't crashed in the middle of something. It's usually when I'm trying to start something new, like when I had all my cameras connected and I tried to go live, it crashed. So I apologize. Hey, Diane, welcome. Carla, welcome. Yes, I'm here. I got it to work, and I'm really excited because I have a lot of things I want to share with you today. You know, especially how things are fitting, and I have all those. Hey, hi, Karen. Hey, pins, bobbins, and paint. Welcome, welcome. Oh, okay. So if you missed the phone, you didn't miss anything because it was a hot mess. I was trying to hold my phone and show things, and that never works out. Let me start over here. I'm going to switch. I'm going to bring my view back around to here. And what I want to do now is I just want to show you, oh, my mic. Let me just make sure my mic is as loud as it can go. I'll bring it a little bit closer. I'm back. I figured it out. Well, I got it to work. I think I'm on borrowed time with this computer, though. All right, so what I want to show you guys, let me just clean up my mess that I made in a panic. All right, this is McCunn, and this is my Jan Minott. All right, so let's start with this. If you didn't see my step-by-step pattern draft, I'm just going to show you what ended up happening here. Because I used my personal measurements and we added dart intake for both the front and the back, my front actually ended up being a little bit wider than my back, and my front side seam goes past center. This is my front side seam right here. And then it comes down like this, and my back goes like that. So they overlapped. And I totally expected them to do that because my tummy measurement is bigger than my full hip measurement. So that's why this happened. And when it came time to balance the pattern, I had to make a copy before I could do that. So let me just stop and say hi. Hi, Andrea. Thank you for coming back. Thank you guys for waiting and coming back. So a couple things about this draft. The instructions for adding the crotch extension in the back was only a third of the full hip measurement. So that made it really snug, and I'm going to show you how I fixed that for myself mostly. Also, instead of doing a wedge or lengthening the back rise like both the Jan Minott and Don McCunn methods did, he added, this method just added a little 1/4 inch above the waist level. So you're going to see in the pictures, hey Maura, I'm so happy you're still here. Thank you for hanging on. You're going to see that this rise, because we only added the 1/4 here, ended up being too short for me in the back rise. But other than that, he didn't, for these diagonals, he had standard amounts that he wanted you to draw. On the back, it was a 2 inch. In the front, it was an 1.5 inches. And then this is a very, this reminds me of, you know, pattern drafting in my textbook. To create the side seams, to create the inseams, he had you draw a vertical line right here that was a 1/2 inch from the tip of the crotch. And what that did was it helped you create a curve on your inseam. So you can see from the tip of the crotch, my inseam touches that vertical line. So that helps you make a shape. And he did the exact same thing in the front as well. So you had this vertical line right here that was a 1/2 inch away to help create that shape. So basically, if you missed the draft, I'll put the link for the draft in the description of this video when I get finished. But I showed how to do this entire process step by step. Where I left off was the step to balance the pattern. Now, what I mean, or what he means by balancing the pattern is they want you to make sure your side and inseams are identical. Okay, so literally he had you put the front face down and the back face up. And you can imagine if you cut apart, like if I cut this draft, the instructions were to cut this draft in half and then align that cut edge together to align the front and back together while they were stacked. I couldn't just cut them apart because I was overlapping. So that's why I had to trace new copies. And then to get that line, what I did was I basically drew that line from, and I have little guides to put it back together. So let me just put a little piece of tape here to show you. I mean, I obviously cut it off so I could make a muslin, but basically you can see here I drew a line as if my front to back did not overlap. Okay, so this was attached like this. This green line would be the center between the two, and I made the same line from straight down from the very tip of the waist straight down, and I did that in the front as well. That way I could line up my lines, and what you do is you pin them together here, okay, and then you find the difference between the front and back. So you can see this purple, this is what I was trying to show you on my phone. This purple was my original side seam. After finding the middle of the road, which I used my tracing wheel to mark the middle of where the front was. And the front is this yellow dash line, so it became very close. I just popped it out there. You find the middle of the road there. And then down here, you do the same thing. So when you get to the bottom of the pattern, it's all taped together, okay? And what you do is the yellow line, oops, the yellow line is the front, the purple line is the back, and so what I did was I found a middle of the road between the two, and that became the new side, you know, inseam, side seam. I did it to both patterns, so I balanced them, and what that means is the front and back legs have the exact same shape. You could lay them on top of each other and they would be exactly the same. Now that is something you do when you're drafting something that's not designed to fit a person. Because if you were drafting for yourself and you have to make changes to either the front or back leg, the actual shape might be different, right? So I just want to show you. I'm going to draw on my little whiteboard here. Let me just show you something. I'm going to go back over here. So the way I balance mine, let's say this is my, oops, let's say that's nothing. Hold on. Let's say this is my this is my front side seam, let's say. There's my crotch, there's my pattern, right? And then let's say when I lay the front alongside it, it does something like this. You know, it does something like that and then comes across. If they're not exactly the same, if the curves aren't exactly touching, but they're going in the same direction, that's how I balance my side and inseams when I'm working on something that is going to be fitting me. Okay, so you don't have to make the side and inseams match perfectly if you're doing a garment just for yourself, but if you're drafting something that's going to be designed to create, you know, a pattern that you're going to sell, or if you're just making a balanced pattern and you're not sure who's you're making it for, then balancing them side to, you know, so they match exactly is a good idea. And what I want to do is show you now. Here, we're going to switch views. Oh, no, we're not. And I'm going to get the draft that I just did. I'm going to pull this up here. And you can see this is the front, side, and back view of the pants draft that I did from the basics of pattern making for fashion design. And basically from the front and side, I was very pleased with the way it was looking. And then when my husband took these pictures and I saw the back, I mean, I could feel it pulling in the back, but you can see that when the back is pulled up to where it should be, it's pulled up right up against me. Now, interestingly, I can sit down. So I can sit down in this muslin and it doesn't pop off the back of the waistband, but it does need to be a little bit longer. And then the other thing I want to say is I was really kind of interested to see that my waistline, oh, you know what? Okay, so my waistline was too big. So I have these clips. You can see the clip on the side seam. Well, why is the waist too big? Look at the front. I put front waist darts in the front, but I did not sew them. So actually, I'm going to have to go back and sew those front darts and try it on again. Now, I didn't even realize that until I'm looking at the pictures right now. So my waist is too big, but it's too big because I didn't sew the front waist darts. I'm so used to not having front waist darts that I forgot to sew them. But this draft does include front waist darts. All right, so that is how this fits me. You can see it's a very balanced pattern. I mean, other than the fact that I didn't sew the waist darts and I need more rise in the back, I mean, I could make this into a pants pattern very easily by, you know, if I were fitting this, I would add fitting allowances to the side and the top along the waistline, and I would be able to get this to fit me. So that's the Nick Verreos David Paul version. Now let's look at the front view of all three versions. So here's the front view of all three versions. So on the left I have the newest one, and you can see that's how that fits. And then we're just comparing it to the Jan Minott and the Don McCunn. Now the one thing that I took from the Don McCunn draft is my crotch depth. I feel like the Jan Minott method was a little bit low for me, so the way Don McCunn figured it out, or however the instructions shook out there, I made it a little shorter, so I used that shorter measurement in the new one, and I like the way that is. So that's what the front looks like. And then let's look at the side view. Okay, now from the side, you can see that out of all three of these drafts, the Don McCunn version is the most fitted. And you can see it has the most wrinkles on the back leg. Why? Because it's closer to the body and it needs a little bit of adjustment for the vertical length and the position of the back crotch, but it's very close. Both the Jan Minott method and the basics of pattern making have more of a trouser fit, and let's be fair, I did the trouser draft, so it should fit like a trouser, but you can see it hangs nicely from my full hip and my behind. There's no wrinkles. Let's look at the back. And this is where you're going to see the good, the bad, and the ugly here. So in the back of the basics of pattern making draft kind of looks like a front because it's pulled so snugly at my, you know, my back rise. It's just pulled up against me because it's about 1.25 inches too short, or it needs to be longer. But notice how nicely that leg is hanging. I feel like it's the best fitting of the three in terms of wrinkles and the way it fits. So, you know, I'm finding all of this very, very interesting. These 3 different drafts, I use the exact same measurements for all 3 drafts, and you know, these are the results, and it's amazing to me that you can get such different results based on the steps and the instructions to, you know, do a, you know, to do the draft. So that's how the back looks. So I feel like, well, let me just put that down now. All right, so now that I shared all that with you, I just want to share my thoughts on ease of use. I really feel like this book was the easiest for me to follow along. Now that could be because I'm used to this style of drafting. This is very close to how I would draft a pattern if I was just doing it, you know, the way I've done it since the beginning using the Helen Joseph Armstrong book. This is so much easier to follow along with. And I think the resulting pattern is the closest fitting. Aside from it being too short in the back, if I had sewn those front waist darts, I feel like I could cut it out of fashion fabric and make a pattern. So, but the one thing is, this book does not include any fitting information. So when we get to, let me just show you this part over here. When we get to the, out of the way. When we get to the end and we're truing up the pieces, you know, and I really love the fact that he has so many photos for every step. So literally, you can follow along in here, and there's a photo for each step. If you're a visual learner, you can look at the picture and see what to do. But at the very end, okay, he has you make sure your transition front to back is nice, but there is no instruction for creating more depth. So again, I feel like this book is more like a drafting textbook that doesn't consider fit as much as the other 2, but also I think it's probably the easiest one to follow along with. So that's my thought process on these 3 books. That's not to say that I'm not going to use the other ones, because I really enjoyed working in the Don McCunn book, and I really enjoy the Jan Minott method. I think the Jan Minott method is my favorite method, though, because you're doing fitting as you go along. And even though I had too much ease in the front and I needed to make some adjustments, I know I could very easily get that one to fit me as well. And the Don McCunn book was also very good. So, Judy is asking, does Nick sell that book on Amazon? Yes, he does, and I put a link to it in the description of the video. So it's in there, and that's where I got my copy from. So I just thought this was a very interesting experiment. I spent the whole month just drafting pants, testing the fit of them. I think next week, I had promised during my disaster iPhone live, that next week what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust this pattern for the things that I need to be fixed. I'm also going to test the adjustments I made a couple weeks ago on the Jan Minott and Don McCunn drafts, and we'll compare the final versions. Okay, so Judy's asking me, which toile did you have to do the least adjusting? Well, on the, let me just look here, remind myself. So on the Jan Minott method, what I think I need to do for that one, let me just look at the pictures. Let me call back. Hold on one second. Let me look at the front view here. Okay, so to fix this, the Jan Minott method is the one in the middle. And I think what I would just do for this one is I would take some of the front crotch extension off because I feel like it's too full in the front. And I think I would pick up the rise a little bit in the Jan Minott. For the Don McCunn, I think I probably would leave that alone. I don't know, maybe play with the shape of the front crotch a little bit. And for the last one I did, I think I would leave that alone. I don't think I would fix. I would just sew those waist darts in to see what they look like. And then if we look at the back view, let me put this one down and get the back view. Oh, that's the side view. Hold on. Back view. Wow, that side view wants to come up here. Back view. I think in the, oh, this is not that one. Hold on. Where's my back views? Back views. I think I lost my back view. I can't find my back view. That's my front view. I think I pushed it down so far below my main thing, I can't find it now. But I think for back views, I would have to lengthen the rise on the one I just drafted. And I think I need more crotch extension on the Don McCunn, or I need to adjust that. So I feel like Victoria is saying it looks like you only need to have minor alterations. I think that's true for all three. So I really feel like, you know that saying, if there's a will, there's a way? I think if you try a certain method and you like it, you're going to get it to work for you. And if you try a different method and you're struggling with it and it's hard to follow the instructions and it doesn't click with you, that's going to be the method that you don't like. So I think it's more about ease of the process for the way you think versus which method is better. Because I think I got good results on all three methods. Like, I think they're all very good. They all have different things that need to be fixed. For me, because I have a pattern drafting background, I think this one is the easiest one to follow. If you're going to work with the Jan Minott method or the Don McCunn method, I highly recommend reading through the entire process before you start drafting, because that will help you understand what's going on. And especially in the Jan Minott method, there are a lot of things that you do in the draft that require you to understand what certain mini processes are. For example, you have the X section in the Jan Minott method. That's the section of the back crotch that you can raise or lower to get it to agree with the front. You have to understand what that means, right? And why you're doing it. And there's also fine-tuning adjustments for the length of the back crotch extension. And then you also have to pick the right measurements based on your frame size. So like, she will give different measurements based on, are you a small frame, medium, large, extra large frame size? That will change the length of the diagonals you use to make the crotch curves. So she has some different considerations based on your body's size and then also your shape. So she has different instructions for flat behind versus like a lower full hip. She has different instructions. So if you're into fitting and you understand fitting and you want to draft that way, I think the Jan McCunn method is, what am I saying, Jan McCunn? Sorry, Jan Minott method is the way to go. And the Don McCunn method, I think, is a nice middle of the road. It's a nice draft. It has some fitting, and like I said, they all fit pretty well. So I think that is my conclusion. I have all three, and of course, I will refer to all three. If I'm working on something, depending on what I'm working on, one might be better than the other. But for pants, I think, they're all good. And I really like the format of this because I like the photos. I like every step has, you know, a photo showing you really what's happening. So that's my take on this book here. I love it. And I really like all the books. I told you the Jan Minott books are one of my prized treasures, that I have the original copies of 4 different versions of her books. And the Don McCunn book is also very good. So that's what I have to say. Mary says, you have more patterns for all of this. I know. Oh, more patience. I have more patience. Well, okay, so patience is relative. So, like, I enjoy drafting. I love drafting. I love engineering the pattern shapes. So, for me, no patience is required. It was a little bit for me to have to slow down and take my time to follow someone else's instructions and not just do it the way I wanted to do it. But I really enjoy drafting. But again, remember, drafting, you don't have to draft a pattern from scratch to make a pants pattern. If you have a pants pattern that you like, you can use that as a base to start, you know, making a different style. I would recommend picking a pants pattern that has the same fit waist to crotch, meaning it's going to fit as closely to you or as loosely from you as what you're trying to design, and then use that as a base to design new styles or, you know, change the details. You certainly don't have to draft from scratch, but I found out from doing the series that a lot of people do like to draft, so I'm kind of happy I did it, and really it was quite fun for me, and it really tied into, you know, just working on pants. If you missed it, I did a new pants fitting class for pattern review on Wednesday, and that was a lot of fun. So I was working on that all month to get that class ready. It's my entire pants fitting process, step by step in slides. So that was a lot of work, and I was so happy to work on the whole thing. I worked with a real model, not myself. So my neighbor Marie was my model, and that was really fun to work on. So I was either working on a pants class this month, or I was working on pants drafting this month, or I was working on testing pants drafts this month. So it all tied together, and it really, I think that helps me think, and like, because I'm in the zone. Like if I was trying to do some bodice things, but then also do some pants things, I think that would get a little more fussy in my head. So speaking of which, March 20, 21, and 22, I am having an in-person 3-day bodice fitting class here in Manchester, Connecticut. There are spaces left. I have 3 people signed up right now. I haven't really actively been promoting it though, because I've been so busy with my pants drafting stuff. But I know that March is going to be all about bodice patterns and bodice fitting, because I want to get my head in the game, so when I teach the live class in person, I won't have pants on the brain. So March is going to be bodice month at J Stern Designs. Next month I might continue on a little bit with the pants. I think I want to test fit these 3 drafts after I make fit adjustments, so I can show you how to fix a draft based on your results. So I think I'll just continue with pants for now, and I'll do some test fitting after I do some fitting of these draft patterns, and then I'll switch over to bodice in March. Maura says it's Minott, not Minotaur. Minott. Well, you know, the name that I'm really slaughtering is Nick's last name. I'm not pronouncing it right, so that's why I'm stopping saying it, because I'm not pronouncing it right. So I apologize. If I mispronounce something, I'm sorry, because in my head I read it and it looks like it should be pronounced a certain way unless I hear somebody say it. Sometimes it's hard for me to pronounce things right, so I apologize in advance for that. Oh yeah, Mary would love to come, but you do have to stay home with your hubby, and I'm hoping he really, really, really is healing nicely, and I'm glad that everything is, I think, working out for the moment. Oh, you're saying you spelt it wrong. Let's see, Myra, I'm sorry. All right, so Myra's saying, it sounds like Jan method would help in adjusting commercial patterns together for a best fit. Yes, you can use the Jan Minott book to fit your pants. But of course, I'm not going to use Jan's method to fit pants because I use my method to fit pants, right? So I love the way I fit pants. I have been working for 20 years to fit pants, and I feel like I have one of the best, easiest ways to do it. However, in the Jan Minott book, let me just grab that. Let's look at that because she does have, let me just bring this down here so we can see, in the pants and skirts, after all of the drafting, so after the draft, let me just get this so we can see it and make sure it's nice and sharp. She has a whole section on, you know, testing, and she has a whole section on fitting the pants. I love her wrinkle chart. I use her wrinkle chart to help figure out how to fix things. And the wrinkle chart is excellent. You know, and then she has, you know, she covers all of the special problems, like, you know, if your side seams are rippling, if you have a tilted waist, you know, if you change weight, you know, and then changing the garment. She has a lot of really good information in here. She also shows you how to transform a woven into a knit pants pattern here, which is kind of cool. And then she shows you how to make different styles. So if you want to make flared leg, you know, there's a lot of really cool things. And then she has a section on adjusting commercial patterns. So you could adjust your own pattern using this section, or you could use it to, you know, work with any pattern that you have. She has a step-by-step outline. So there is a lot of really great information in here about adjusting your pattern and to true things up and to get it to fit right. She calls it coding style. So definitely in the Jan Minott method, there's things in here that you can use for fitting both your own patterns and, you know, ready to wear commercial patterns. So lots of information in there. And then let's just look at Don McCunn, because let's see what he has. So after you do the draft in Don McCunn's book, you know, he's got some information about changing the shape of patterns for fitting. So he has a whole section, you know, and he talks about some things about adjusting the back crotch curve, and then he goes into different pant styles, and then he'll show you the changes to make from a full pants pattern to a close fitting pants pattern. So he shows you how to change for that. So there is some fitting information in the Don McCunn book as well. And I'm pretty sure, let me just look in here again. So in this basics for pattern drafting, he does show you how to adjust your pattern. So if you draft the trouser, which we did, there's the basic trouser. He then shows you how to adjust that draft for a basic fitted pant. He shows you how to make flared pants. So there's some flare options. And wide leg pants. And then he has a quick pants pattern. And I'm going to tell you, I originally thought I was going to just share this with you, but I was already wanting to change what he was doing like 2 steps in, so I decided this was too basic for me, because he just quarters all the measurements and doesn't take front and back into consideration in this quick pattern draft, pants draft, so I didn't do this one, but he has it. There's your quick pants. And then he has a whole fashion inspiration section, which is fun. I hope this is sharp. You know, so I think, you know, whichever book you decide to have, or if you have some books or a few of the books or whatever amount of books you have, whichever book you have, I really feel like you could get the job done, because they all have benefits. But I think most fitting Jan Minott McCunn next. No fitting in here to speak of. So that's the fitting issue. All right, let me see. Pins, bobbins, and paint says, in the Minott method, what is she referencing or referring to when she uses the word coding? I think you mentioned that a while back, but I've forgotten. All right, so she added coding to her revised editions. So her coding is I think she makes a code for each style. So if we look at the pants section, for example, she does coding style pants patterns, preparing for writing a code, comparison chart, sample chart, pants code chart, and procedure for cutting code and coding tips. Let's see what the coding tips are. I think it's her term for making adjustments to change a style is what I think it is. I think code for her is for changing styles. So she basically says, so you create a code based on the style you want, and you basically add that or put that onto your personal pattern. Because she says, provide a code, proving a code is highly recommended. Trace code, basic pattern, and cut the code into it. Compare it to the personal pattern and study it carefully. So I think the code is when you're changing styles, cutting code, read coding tips. You know what? I'm going to research this coding thing more, and I'm going to talk about that more next week because I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so she says a code is necessary because body measurements cannot be applied meaningfully to the style pattern. Styling ease has been added to wearing ease for a variety of designs. The code of adjustment is the only logical step to fitting the style to the pattern. So it's her method of taking different styles and getting them to fit your measurements. But I'm gonna research that some more, and I'll cover that in depth maybe next week or the week after, because I want to also do some test fitting. So I'm going to get into that code stuff. All right, let me just see here. Oh, Super Classic says, oh man, I might have to come out there for the bodice fitting class. Well, if you do come, Super Cassie, I will pick you up and bring you back from the airport. I try to make a luxury experience. Lunch and snacks are included. Dinner is not included, but we do go out to dinner together as a group. It's a lot of fun, and I stay at the Hampton Inn with you guys, so we have a really good time. It's a really fun weekend. Oh, Mary says, Super Cassie, you would love it. The hotel is very nice, and you are fed well for lunch every day. Yay, Mary! Thank you for sharing that. Oh. And Pins and Bobbins and Paint says, oh, thank you. I find it a bit confusing. Well, you know what? I'm not 100% on it either. I brushed through it, and I assumed it was her code word for fitting different style patterns to your shape, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to delve into it deeper, and I'll share more about that in weeks to come. I think I'll just continue different pants things in February, because I am going to Arizona on the 20th. Well, the 19th to do pants fitting, so I'm going to miss a Fab Fit Friday. There's only going to be 3 Fab Fit Fridays in February, so we'll continue with pants. Oh, Pins and Bobbins and Paint is asking where in Connecticut. In Manchester, Connecticut, probably 15 minutes from Hartford. It's at the Hampton Inn. in Manchester, and it's right next to the shopping plaza where Joann's used to be. There's still a Michael's, and there's a bunch of restaurants there. We eat at the Artisan Burger Place, which is a yummy restaurant, on Friday night. So we can walk literally from the hotel across the parking lot to the restaurant. And then we go to different other restaurants for dinner on Saturday night. It's a lot of fun. Yes, my classes are listed on my website. Let me see if I can quickly put a link. J Stern Designs. I probably can just get a quick link for you here. Hold on one second. So, take a class, upcoming workshops, and then I'm going to put the link to the 3-day. Oops, nope, didn't want to do that. Control A, Control V. All right, and then I can close. I can come back over here and I can put it right in the chat for you. Control V. Oops, can I? Control C. Control A, Control C, and then can I put it in there? There is my link to the bodice class right there if you're interested in checking that out. Let me just see. Oh, Maine. Oh yeah, you're from Maine. That's pretty close. You could get here. So just know, if you're driving in and you want to drive in on Friday morning, you're not going to miss a lot if you get in a little bit late. We start at 9 because I have to take time with each student to pick a size and identify any things that we want to change. We start at the top of the pattern and work down. So we start in the blue zone to fit the upper back, shoulder blades, neck, shoulder, and upper chest, and then we go down from there. So I do spend time with each student ahead of time, individually. So if you get a little late on the first day, you don't miss anything in terms of what we're doing. But it is a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about it. I had semi-private fitting workshops in December, and both of the students who came to that were working on their bodices, and we fit these sleeves like, oh, I was so excited. So I'm just very excited about this. People have been asking me for a bodice class for a while now, so I finally decided to add it into my schedule. So anyway, that is my report. I'm so happy I got my computer going. I'm going to go downstairs and have a chat with my husband about what our plan should be going forward. Because if that had been yesterday or Wednesday when I was teaching for pattern review, that would have been a disaster, because that's a paid class. Not that this isn't important, but I've got to make sure my stuff is working, so I have to figure out what we're going to be doing about this. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me today. Oh, someone is asking me where I'm going to be in Arizona. I'm going to be in Surprise, Arizona, and that workshop is sold out. But if it's something you think you want to come to, if I get any last minute cancellations, if you email me, I can put you on a wait list, and you can email me at jsterndesigns37@gmail.com for wait list for Arizona pants class. All right, so there's my email. You can email me there if you're interested, and if someone drops out, I can let you know. All right, so that would be. I think I answered everybody. If I missed anybody's comments, I'm sorry. But in any case, next week we will continue on with pants, either fitting based on adjusting these drafts, or maybe I'll go over the coding style in the Jan Minott book. We have lots of fun, more things to do. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you're in the path of the storm that's coming up the coast, please stay safe. And I hope everybody stays safe. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now, and I just want to send hugs and good vibrations to everybody. Just stay safe. So that's what I want to say about that. And thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for hanging out with me and waiting for me to fix my tech. I really appreciate you. So I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. I'm going to sign off, and Thank you. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.